everybody. Welcome again to the Faith Family Church of God youth class. Like I said, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you're here. It's going to be an interesting class tonight, I hope. It's going to be a couple of things before I actually get to the lesson, so you have to bear with me on that one. So first, let's say a word of prayer. Thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day that you've given us. Thank you for all the breathing, all these trees, everything that you've given us to enjoy. They're blooming. The pollen, Lord, I ask that you help us with this pollen, though, our sinuses. Lord, we know that you can heal and protect us. Lord, I ask that you give me the right words tonight on preparation so everyone will understand what they need to do, what they need to prepare for to see you in heaven. In Jesus' name I ask. Amen. Okay. First of all, I want to explain the word prepare. You know, we prepare every day, okay? So according to the dictionary, prepare means to make ready beforehand for a specific purpose as for an event or an occasion. To be willing to do something. Okay, when we prepare every day, okay? When you wake up, you don't just hop up and run get on the school bus. You hop up, you go to the bathroom, you go brush your teeth, you take a shower, whatever. You prepare every day when you get up. You prepare when you go to get ready to go to school. You have to have your computer, your laptop. If you take your laptop without your charger, chances are your laptop's going to die on you. So then you say, no, I didn't prepare too well. So that's what you call about preparing. So as an object lesson this evening, I have my rocks sitting here, and I'm going to explain these in just a minute. I've got 5 rocks. I have 3 fishing worms. I have a bullet, and I have a pencil, okay? So, first of all, I'm going to start with these 5 rocks. These 5 rocks is, for me to explain, David. Remember David and the Goliath? You know, we've talked about David on numerous occasions. Why did he have 5 rocks when he only had 1 giant to kill? And he had supposedly had faith that God was going to help him kill this giant. Well, from research, I found out what the thing is. Yes, he could have killed the giant without 1 rock. I mean, you know, God can do anything. But David only needed 1 rock to kill the giant. So why did he have 5? Well, from what I found out, you know, David was very experienced at killing with stones, with a slingshot. Now, he killed a bear, he killed a lion, and he knew that he was very experienced and very trained on using rocks on killing large animals or anything, you know. So he had confidence in himself. Well, actually, the faith for David came in was having the faith to make the challenge. You know, that had to be scary in a way to be able to see this giant, and are you going to be able to stand there and say, I challenge you to the death, okay? That's where the faith came in. Now, the preparation on the rocks was the fact that the Goliath had 4 brothers. He had 4 other giant brothers. So, David prepared. He knew it would only take 1 rock to kill Goliath, but he had to have more than 1 rock to kill his other 4 brothers in case they would retaliate. So that explains these rocks. David had faith to challenge the giant, to challenge Goliath. He also had, that was where his faith came in. But he had the experience, he knew, he had the faith, he had the experience that he could kill him. So he had confidence in himself, but he was also prepared for the worst. He was praying for the best, but he prepared for the worst in case he had to kill Goliath's brothers, okay? That's biblical. That's the Bible part, okay? Now, I'm going to talk about the bullet. Present day, we have a bullet, okay? All you hunters out there, if you take 1 bullet to hunt, what do you expect to do with 1 bullet? Now, we're going to say you have a weapon. Of course, I'm going to show a weapon or anything. I'm just going to use the bullet example. You have all your gear, and you take 1 bullet to hunt. Either you are a crackerjack shot, or you're not prepared. Okay? Because I am pretty sure it is going to take more than 1 bullet to shoot a deer or whatever you use. I'm using the bullet. I don't know what you use to shoot, but yeah, a deer. But we're using this bullet as an example. You would need to prepare to lose this bullet. I mean, if you shoot, and you miss the deer, you're through for the day because you have no more ammunition. You might as well pack up. You're not prepared for more than one deer. Okay. Look at this pencil for a minute. You're going to say, now, Miss Marsha, why are you doing this? But I want you to understand the meaning of being prepared. When I was in school, we used this, okay, a wood pencil. If you didn't show up with the pencil, unless you borrowed it from someone, and that was pretty, selfish on your part, unless you forget it or whatever. But if you take one pencil, chances are that pencil's would be left in a classroom. If you had to find that pencil, or the teacher would say, go to the bookstore. We had bookstores back then. You'd go and buy your pencil, paper, whatever you need if you didn't bring it to school with you. Well, while you're gone to get that pencil from the bookstore, you have missed out on all your notes during the class. So that's being very poorly prepared. Same with paper. If you take one sheet of paper to school with you, that's not being enough. That's not being prepared. I'm saying you can take one pencil and one sheet of paper and say you're prepared. Okay, you're not prepared for very much. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say here. Same with these 3 fishing worms someone let me borrow. I have 3 of them. Okay, you have loaded up all your fishing gear and you take 3 worms. Chances are you're not going to catch a fish on the first try. So you have another worm. You have 3 tries to catch 3 fish, and that's all you're going to get for the day. So you can either go with what you expect you need, which is 3 worms, and if that's all you need for 3 fish, that's fine. But I've said David, in the opposite case, David was prepared more than what he needed. And he had God on his side. So, like I said, David was more than prepared because he had 5 rocks. 1 rock for Goliath, another 4 for his brothers, just in case they wanted to retaliate for Goliath's death. Okay? That's my object lesson right here. I want to show you being prepared, more than prepared, being just prepared, okay? Just enough for being prepared. So I hope I'll get that into your head. What does being more than prepared, okay? So, now, the lesson tonight is the parable of the 10 virgins. Remember the parable that Jesus told the disciples? He was explaining about his return. And he was explaining by using the parable of 10 virgins. But I figured it would be important to understand why Jesus used the marriage ceremony as part of his parable. And what the 10 virgins, what they actually signified, what their symbol was in his parable. I used to watch Andy Griffith's show a lot, and he would tell stories. They weren't parables, but he would make the story sound so interesting you could just visualize it in your head. So I'm going to try to do this with the marriage ceremony, how it began and how it would end. I wouldn't go all the way through. I'm just going to go through the part where the virgins try to get into the gate, okay? And it's also in how the marriage ceremony is, or how it was in Jesus' day, why it was so important to him to use this parable to describe his return, okay? So here we go. First, why would Jesus use the marriage of a man and a woman as an example in the 10 virgins? So to find out, I won't explain the steps of a marriage during Jesus' time. That's what I'll just say. Okay, first, the selection of the bride. Okay, the groom did not select the bride. Okay, back then it was not in the case where, oh, she's beautiful, I love her, I want her. That was not how it went. When the age difference between the two was like, he was usually about 18 or 13, and the girl would be 13. But the betrothal or the contract was made when they were young, okay? The father of the groom and the father of the bride made the arrangements for their children to get married later on when they got old enough. The thing was, the father of the groom would send out a representative or an agent to find the perfect young lady for his son. And when that agent or that representative, I guess it was sort of like a interview, or they would go around town, or they would do like a character type thing to find out what kind of family that this was. So this agent would find the bride, and he would go back to the father of the groom and present it to him. Well, that father of the groom would go meet with the father of the bride, and they would draw the contract. The groom's father would tell the bride's father this is how much money he would give him, or what property he would give him, because back then they had to pay for their wives in some way to make the contract secure. And that's what they did while the children were still small, real young. Okay. So, the price would be established. That's what I just said. Then the bride and the groom are actually engaged. The written document is signed between the fathers. But then, later on, when the bride gets older, she has to say yes. Well, actually, this is just a formality, because all this has already been taken care of. It's already been agreed upon between the fathers, okay? So the groom would go see the bride, and they would have like a ceremonial drink, wine, and she would agree to it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. It was just a ceremonial thing, or a formality that they got together, and they would drink on it. She would drink whatever, and he would leave her. Okay, they're engaged, and he would leave, and when he would leave, he'd say, "I'm going back to my father's house. I am preparing a place for you. I'm going to have a place behind his, or I'm going to add a place to his, however he was going to do it." He said, "I will be back. I will be coming back. I don't know when I'll be back, but I will be back for you." So she would wait on him. Okay, this could be a year and a half. Didn't know how long it would take for him to come back. And while he was at his father's house, he would build on it. He still had other things to do besides building the house. Okay, because he had to make a living. So he would build this part of the house for his beautiful wife that he was going to go get eventually. He did not know when he was going to go back to get her. So he would get ready. He'd get through, think he's finished, and his father would say, "No." Now, y'all remember that. Y'all keep up with this, because it's a parallel to what Jesus has been saying about, when he returns. He would think this groom would think he's finished, and he'd say, "Dad, Father, come look at this part of the house. Come look at the house that I built for my bride." And that father would either say, "No, it's not time. It's not ready. You can't go yet. It's not ready for her. Things aren't ready. So you're going to have to work a little bit longer, wait a little bit longer." So the groom, he would work a little bit longer, work on it more and more. And he would finally get to leave when his father approved of what he did. He would not let his son or the groom go get the bride until he thought it was time, that the house was ready for this bride. So when it came time for him to leave, it would be a ceremony. I mean, a celebration. He would leave, and his best friend would be in front of him. Okay, and his best friend would be yelling, "He's coming! He's coming!" All down the line. His best friend would be saying, just like the bridegroom, but like in a marriage. I don't know what the best man. He'd be in front of him. He'd say, "The bridegroom is coming. He's coming. He's coming." And everybody would come out. The family would come out and start following him like a parade. They'd be, yelling and just celebrating. Yes, time, because they've been waiting a long time. It's not like now where you set the day of June the 29th or 28th and say, "This is when we're getting married." You didn't know. They didn't know when they were going to be getting married. They just knew they were engaged, and they would have to wait. The bride would wait for him to come and get her. Okay, so they would be yelling. They'd be screaming. The groom is coming. The groom is coming. The bridegroom is coming. They'd be shouting it, and his best man or friend would be out front, guiding him on. When they'd get to the bride's home, they would let them in, and they would start having, they'd get married, and they'd have a ceremony inside the house. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there because I'm gonna pick up the rest of it during the parable itself. Okay, so here we go. Before I get to the parable, there's a couple of scriptures I want to tell you about. That 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 6. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Okay, when Jesus comes back, this is talking about we're not supposed to be sleeping. I mean, we're supposed to take each day, like we should, just take each day one by one. But we're supposed to be prepared. We're supposed to be watching and listening for the trumpet. We live our lives on a daily basis. Let us watch and be sober. Sober means alert. You're supposed to be, when you say sober, you think about people being drunk. That's not what this is actually referring to. It can be, but in this case, it means watching and listening, being sober. Don't get your guard down. Be focused is what it's saying. Be alert. And then the next one, 2 Timothy 4. Preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season. Correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instructions. Similar like our pastor talks about, you're not supposed to be timid about it. You're supposed to be spreading the word. You're supposed to be saying, Jesus is coming back. Jesus is coming back. I don't know when. I have been hearing this just like you. I have been hearing this for years and years and years and years. And I'm going to tell you something. I just watched a little while. I'm put this in here real quick. I was watching something a few minutes ago before class that really disturbed me. People actually do not know what Easter is. This independent journalist went out on the beach in Florida somewhere, and she was stopping people and asking them, what is Easter? Why do we celebrate Easter? And they had all sorts of descriptions of why, And they only, but when she pressed them, they remembered. It's like it was a mental block. But once she pressed them hard enough, or pushed them, or mentioned the name Christ, or mentioned the name Jesus, it was like a light went off. They knew what Easter was, but up to that time, they were giving her all sorts of weird things. So let me get back to this real quick. These verses. Back to 2 Timothy 4:2, Robert, please. Preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season, correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instructions. It does not mean to get out there and just beat people over the head to where they resent you. They run from you. You're supposed to be loving when you talk about the Lord. You're supposed to be Christ-like. You're supposed to be telling, yes, Jesus is coming back. And I know you've heard it. I've heard it all my life. And I still believe it. I have faith that I know he's coming back. But I'm like that bride that does not know when her groom is coming to get her. Okay, next one, Robert, please. Matthew 24:44. Therefore you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Okay, one thing about these bridegrooms, I forgot to mention, this reminded me. Most of the time, it was sometime after midnight. Okay? It was not in the middle of the day when you're wide awake, when she was wide awake or anything. It was most of the time, it was late at night. So keep that in mind also when I get to the parables. That the bridegroom usually was after midnight before, don't ask me why, it was usually after midnight before he would get there or get to the bride's house. Okay, now I'm getting to the the parable of the 10 virgins. I hope I have explained sort of what it's about. It comes out of Matthew 25, verse 1 through 13. Okay, and the parable, like I said, this is, I'm using these images. This is an image, supposed to be an image of Jesus, and to remind you that this is a parable that he is telling to the disciples, and the parable is the 10 virgins. Next one. Here we go. Matthew 25, verse 1. It says, "Then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now 5 of them were wise, and 5 of them were foolish." Now keep in mind, there's other scriptures in the Bible where, like the wise man built his house upon the rock, and the foolish man built his upon the sand. Well, these 2 words are used a lot. That's the description of people that are wise and foolish. They make different choices in what they do. Go to the next one, please. Matthew 25, verse 3. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. Okay, now like I said earlier, being prepared for anything it makes it a whole lot stressless. No, it makes it more peaceful when you know that you've got more than you need. Just like when you have these storms that come through, people run out at the last minute to get something. If you're prepared ahead of time, you don't have that worry. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. They took what was just in their lamps. Next one. Verse 4. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. So they had oil inside their lamps, and they had oil, extra oil. They were more than prepared for just in case. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. So it was late. They were all tired and sleepy. They all fell asleep waiting on him. And at midnight a cry was heard, "Behold, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him." So there we go. The bridegroom is coming, but that does not mean that he is there. It means that he is on his way. Get ready for him. Now, note how far the yelling would go. Your voice can travel only so far. So, if the bridegroom, um, the best man, I can't remember. If the best man is out there yelling, "The bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him." Um, that means either everybody's following them, getting out behind them, following them to the bride's house from a long way, and they're all screaming it. But from my indication, they're all celebrating, and it's the friend that is yelling, "The bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him." He's giving the signal, just like Paul Revere did during the Revolution. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. Okay, they're getting ready. They got their lamps. They turned them on. They got them lit and everything, and they're waiting. And the foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." But the wise answered, saying, "No, lest there should not be enough for us and you. But go rather to those who sell and buy for yourselves." Okay, a lot of people nowadays would say, "Well, that's selfish." Now, why didn't they share their oil with those poor little girls, those little virgins? Why didn't they share their oil? They had plenty. Well, that's not the point. The wise ones went prepared. Prepare ye the way. Prepare yourself. They all had enough in their lamps, but only the wise ones was smart enough or wise enough to take extra in case their lamps ran out of oil. The foolish did not think too well. They did not prepare for the possibility of the bridegroom being so late that their lamps would run out of oil. So no, I don't think the wise virgins were selfish. I think they were wise. Next one, please, Robert. And guess what? When they went to buy their oil, okay, when they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding, and the door was shut. Okay, so the others, the foolish ones, are gone. They're going to get their oil, and like I said about my pencil, you miss out when you're not prepared. You suffer the consequences when you're not prepared. If you're not prepared for class, you suffer the consequences. In this case, they were not really prepared for the bridegroom. They thought they were. They had just enough in their lamp. Now, this is parable that Jesus is telling, but think about it. In his parable, they think that they are. Okay, Matthew 25:11-13. Afterward, the other virgins came also, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered, and he said, Assuredly, I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day, not the hour, nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming. But that's powerful, because they came back banging on the door. Now, I'm going to talk about what all these represents in the Bible here in a minute. But they're banging on the door saying, let us in, let us in. Like, we just left long enough to get some more oil. And remember, we don't even know if they even got any more oil, because it was after midnight. Was there any place to get any? His parable doesn't say that. Was there any place to get oil? Did they come back with oil in their lamps, or did they come back empty-handed? Now, the picture shows that they had, the flames. But there is nothing in the parable that says that. But if they were foolish enough to go play, to wait for the bridegroom with no oil, they were foolish enough to go try to find some, and probably didn't find any. So now I want to talk about something else that goes along with this. I want to explain to you for just a minute, and you probably know all this. The bride, of course, is the church. And a lot of people think, well, the bride is the church. That means everybody. No. The church is the symbol of the people who are Christians. The church is God. Jesus is God's bride. But there are churches out there. We've heard this talked about several times in the last several weeks. There are churches out there that are not alive. Now, but there are churches out there that are alive. I'm happy to say that ours is alive. But those churches that have people, the people they are the church. Okay? Their hearts have to have a relationship with Jesus to get into heaven. That is the bride. Just because you go to church will not get you into heaven at all. Just because you pay your tithes will not get you into heaven. Just because you're a sweet person will not get you into heaven. Just saying I go to church, this church or that church, will not get you into heaven. Church, we need church. We need to congregate together. Being through this pandemic like we have, it was tough spiritually. Okay? It's hard on everybody spiritually. But the church is the people. And the people that makes a live church loves Jesus. And you can tell it in church. You cannot go to church and sit there when it's alive. That is the bride. I'm perfect. No stain. No blemish. Nothing. Robert, you take that? Next is the bridegroom. I got white. Next is the bridegroom. The bridegroom is Jesus. And there's no explanation on who Jesus is. He is the bridegroom. He's the one that is waiting for his Father, waiting for God to say, it is time to go get your bride. I'm not Linda Lott. Linda, I could just say, praise God for that one. Go get her. Go get your bride. It is time. I can just imagine what it's going to be like when he says that. Everybody will be happy. Angels, everybody. Jesus will be happy. He said, it's time. It's about time, Father. It's about time for you to let me go get them. Then you got the gates. You got the gates of heaven to be open. And in the parable, it was the door. It was the bride's door. The heaven is the groom's door. It's heaven. They go back. After he gets his bride, they have their festivities for 7 days. They go back to the groom's home. They go back to his father's house. And they finish the ceremony. They finish the ceremony. They have people outside watching and waiting. This is a real ceremony. When they go back to the groom's house or his father's house, they 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 actually have their relationship together. They are the bride and the groom, and they wait. If everybody else is waiting for them to come out and say, "It is done. It is done." Okay, then the wise virgins and the foolish virgins, those are representatives of those that are just the wise virgins were prepared. Okay, that is part of the church too. They were prepared for the return of Jesus, or for, in this case, the parable of the groom. You have the foolish virgins. They thought they were prepared. They were paying their tithes. They were going to church. They were being nice to people. They were doing everything they could, thinking that and thinking they would get into heaven for how good they were. Okay, but sad to say, they didn't. They didn't. They did not get into the ceremony. The They had party crashers in the real weddings. You know, you've heard of party crashers. If you were not at that door when the family went in, you didn't get in because they didn't know each other. You know, the groom's family didn't know the bride's family. The bride's family didn't know the groom's family. So if you didn't get there on time, it was like getting there at 10:15 or you're supposed to be there at 10 o'clock and you get there at 10:15, you knock on the door, you walk in. No, you try to get in. They said, no, we don't know you. You can't come to this party. Same way with heaven. Jesus, you're not going to get in if you're not a bride, part of the bride, the church. That is the wise and the foolish virgins, okay? Now, you're going to ask me, next one, Robert, please. You're going to ask, well, how do I get prepared? Okay? We've heard all our lives that Jesus is coming back. I mean, I've heard this from the time I was able to understand how to speak. Okay? You pray. You listen. You watch. You store. You improve. You pray to Jesus. You pray to God every day. I'll wake up in the middle of the night with something on my mind. I mean, I'll start praying for people. You know, it's one of those natural things that you do. You pray for your loved ones, okay? And you listen for God's response. He'll talk to you. He'll actually talk to you. You watch your surroundings. You watch what you say. You watch what you do. You watch what you hang around with or who you hang around. You don't watch bad things. We've been through this in other previous lessons. You watch your soul. You listen to God. You do that, everything comes together. You store your knowledge. You store it to use it. You improve yourself. You improve to other people. You improve when you're sanctified. You improve yourself. When you're sanctified, these addictions you had, you don't smoke. You don't want to smoke. You don't want to drink. All these addictions is you improve yourself to be prepared for Jesus to return. Okay. I think that's it. Okay, that's it. That was my lesson. I got so involved, I forgot there was all of this. But anyway, I appreciate y'all listening. I love you all. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and got something out of it. Y'all have a good night. Love you all. Bye.